evening and welcome to the Psych Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me most is tonight my techie with the mostest. He has his extra coffee in hand, and we're ready to go. It'll be there in a minute. The baristas are bringing it.
Okay, cool. Wait, Shannon and Brenda are showing up? What?
Hopefully. So I thought we would
Shannon's...
do more of an old style show.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of new research that was dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
On some interesting things, but there's also this thing, and I'm finding myself having to explain this to people a lot here lately. So let's take on the 80-20 rule. For those that believe that relationships are 50-50, well, you lost it. It isn't.
Well, see, here's the thing is I think it is, but 50-50 isn't 50-50.
Okay.
It's the idea that somewhere along the line it will average out
to
50-50. But if you think Monday through Sunday, every single day of the week is going to be 50-50, you are mistaken.
Right.
Sometimes it's just 20-10. Sometimes it is 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's 20-80. And that all works together.
Right.
And so on average, it's 50.
On average, it's 50. Sometimes it's 5. But sometimes in long-term relationships, it gets to the point where you ain't got 50.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to do this, and we're going to get back to it.
Well, yeah, I think we kind of started shorthanding it a little.
Yeah.
And just recognizing it a little more.
Right.
Though I do think sometimes we definitely need to say it out loud. I'm at 10% today.
Yeah.
And I can't even.
Right. And well, crap, I'm at 4. So what are we going to do?
Yeah. Fucking 14%. What do we do for the other 86?
Right. And I think that's where we come up with plans like, fuck it. We're eating at, the omelet shop. Get your shit. Let's go.
Yes.
Laundry's not getting done. Posts are not going out. It'll be okay. Yeah. And I'm killing it at 5:30.
Pretty much. It's all things like that, and just recognizing that this is how you get to 100% and stay functional.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always 50-50. It is sometimes a creative 100%.
Right. And
that's okay.
Sometimes it is limiting off or lopping off what isn't needed.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. A lot of times it's about looking at stuff and going, is this really necessary?
Right.
And I'd say I'm probably sometimes guiltier.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just look at my day and it's I'm going to run here and I'm going to run there and I'm going to run here. And then I go, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
That can wait 5 minutes. That can be done tomorrow.
Yeah. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Shannon. What you drinking? How you doing? But no, yeah, there's days that we have to go and draw stuff out or move it over or look at it and go, no, not today.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Right. And that's understanding your own energy first of all.
It is.
It is. The other side is understanding your own energy of people. And I'm going to take a coffee grab if you'll take over for a moment and talk about the batching idea.
The batching idea. Okay, so batching is an interesting one. So effectively it's getting together, sitting down and having a conversation instead of in the moment, in the heat of the moment, in the and sometimes it's not always bad. It's I don't know if I assume about everyone else is here. Do you ever just get a compliment and it's the wrong effing moment? Like, it's really great that you appreciate that. Everything else in my life just blew up. I don't have time to appreciate that you appreciate that. I don't have time to really take that in and be like, wow, I did a good. So in addition, there's also moments where it's like, you know what? Also, everything has blown up in my life, and now is not the moment for criticism. So the batching concept is basically setting down when it is convenient and talking about things that you appreciate about your partner, that you are grateful for, that you want to take a moment and talk about, while also like mixing in with that things that are potentially causing you an issue, causing you to struggle, and then just kind of working with that so that it you can build into being able to communicate better, but also being able to communicate when someone's actually listening, and when they're capable of hearing you, instead of just trying to yell louder in hopes that they will hear you eventually at some point, the 4,000th time you scream it at them. So yeah, the concept of batching is like, we were watching a really nifty video with Brene Brown talking about this and how her and her husband do this, as well as the person whose name I can't remember that Aeson will. And how he and his girlfriend or wife, one of the two, do this as well. And it is important to realize that, when we talk about communication, we often forget about this whole, like, sometimes you just can't talk to your partner.
All right, back just for a second.
Okay.
It's still boiling. If you guys are wondering, where I'm using the new mocha pod, okay?
He
And it's
is.
taking a little bit of a learning curve to sound and smell, and we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But give me a second. I have to look him up because I can't. Unfortunately, it's the bald dude.
It's
That's
that
how
bald dude.
it's how I remember him. Everyone knows
Mm-hmm.
I file people differently
Mm-hmm.
in my head.
Mm-hmm. Hey, fair enough. I mean, because he is.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a younger dude, and
Tim
it
Ferriss.
is one of those. I think it's bald as a choice, not bald as a requirement.
No, it's bald as a choice, or religious practice. I don't know who's Buddhist. Tim Ferriss.
Huh?
Yeah.
Ah,
But
Tim
Tim
Ferriss.
Ferriss and
There you
his
go.
girlfriend do this also, where
Mm-hmm.
they just take time throughout the week when they both have time and they talk about nothing but the relationship. Because they're
Mm-hmm.
talking the child, the work, the careers, what he's doing, what she's doing. It's just about the relationship. And it's 5 things that they're liking, 5 things they want more of, and 1 or 2 things that they'd like less of.
Okay.
And that enables you to start seeing patterns of behavior within yourself. The idea is it points out that that's when you're ready to listen. You're also noticing patterns of like attachment theory going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there is a type, and you've heard Joe talk about this. Ace in show mode or ace in work mode is not ace in at home.
No. Typically, no.
Yeah. Joe trying to talk to me about something when I'm in show mode, he'd get more responses out of one, he's going to get the I don't care right now, Joe.
Yeah.
But the steering wheel would be more responsive.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Because it's a different mode, it's a different typing. This pulls you out, both of you, out of those modes to where you can actually deal with things and encourage some behaviors you want to see and discourage other behaviors you don't want to see. Not don't want to see, but that isn't really helping.
Well, yeah, and sometimes it's not that it's a bad behavior, it's that, like, it's perfectly fine behavior, but don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, it sounds wonderful to have a significant other that brings you chocolate every single day. No, it's not.
No.
Like you like it's cute for a week or two, and then it quickly falls into, okay, no, you're done.
Yeah. Well, and here's
Like,
another one, and this was one we had to work out, is my mornings. My morning hour. It's not really an hour, it's more like 20, 22 minutes. Um, but me needing that time,
mhm.
then we discussed this last night, then we need to have a meeting. We need to get back to having a daily meeting.
Mhm.
But that's more on the business side of things.
Right.
And I will check and see if the pot's done.
Okay.
But
All
you
right.
take off on that one.
Yeah, he's having fun with the mocha pot. Um, so yeah, the idea that, you know, we're sitting down and talking about different things happening with the businesses, and that we're talking about where we are and what we need, and making sure that like we understand, like on a day-to-day basis even, like what it is that's happening today, and what, you know, if anything can be done to help with that, or even across the next couple of days, so that we can prioritize stuff a little bit better and ensure that, you know, everyone's getting what they need, when they need it. So that's a big part of that. Oh, judging by that sit down, he was not thrilled by his mocha pot experience.
Well, it's still doing it. Sorry, guys. We had this prep to go on before the show.
We did. He
We
did.
did.
He tried so hard.
Yeah.
And it was like a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events.
Yeah. So we're retrying it because I want to give an honest review of the skinny syrup on air because I haven't had the mocha skinny syrup yet.
Oh,
So
forgot about
that's what
that.
we're working on. It's just taking a few moments because we're doing it. We got a mocha pot. We had a new one
Yeah,
on our last Saturday out.
we did. We got an Uber size.
We got an Uber size. We finally found the one that I thought we needed for his Thai tea.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
Well, no, it's a great story to talk about with this. It's because I store
Mhm.
crap in my brain. And it'll just sit back there in the left field. If ever I find I, how do I get to Y? One of the things we can't find here, but he dearly enjoys, is the Thai tea.
Mhm.
Don't say that 4 times fast. That he can get in North Carolina.
Well, that I had in North Carolina. We were
Right.
down there. We were visiting. We ended up out with a friend of mine. And they live in a weirdo neighborhood, and the only thing I think that was open was this silly little Thai restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I forget, it was like a Sunday or something, and it was like the only thing that was still open
Right.
that we could go to. And I, of course, asked for my sweet tea, and they looked at me and went, "We don't have that,
Mm-hmm.
but we have Thai tea, and it's kind of nothing like sweet tea, but it is sweet."
Right.
And I went, "All right, bring it on."
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, I wish I'd known there were not free refills. We paid for like 5 of them.
I don't care.
I know, but it was really great.
Yeah, but anyway, he
So
really enjoyed it. It's not something that we can get here. Not even at the boba place that we get boba at. They don't have Thai tea.
ooh, next time we're in Morgantown, up the road from Earth Magic, apparently there is a great Thai tea.
Ooh, we will have to
Very
check that out, Brenda.
cool. We will.
Which will be up there May 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be awesome to we'll go check out the great Thai tea place. But I
Yes.
had looked we got back from North Carolina. I had looked up how to make Thai tea. And it's like, okay, you need this Thai or blend, great,
Mhm.
and you can do it either with an espresso machine, which I had lobbied for an espresso machine, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You got shot down because it's like 1,350 watts.
yeah,
And I'm like, good God, our flipping wall outlets are going to revolt. Like, heaven forbid we need espresso and like to run the Instant Pot.
right,
Like, I'm sorry, we're just not that home yet.
right.
We do not have Jay Morel's,
Mega
husband
Mama Kitchen,
skills
right,
or mega kitchen.
yeah. Like, I want her
So
mega kitchen so bad. But anyhow, um,
yeah, the 220-volt freeze dryer.
yes. Do you realize the amount of food I could put up with that?
Do you realize one step up, it has its own diesel engine, I believe?
I've looked up generators, but anyhow.
True.
Um, so that, and the Masak method, the reviewer just said wasn't, it was A, a lot of work, and B, didn't get the best taste. So the next thing was the mocha pot. So I could not find the Saza mocha pot that she had. Well, we found it at Home Goods. We've been using the mocha pot for espressos here lately. And I'm like, this is a perfect time for that. One plus the other equals a great connection. So we got it. Now we just got to find the Thai tea blend that we want. And then he can have his Thai tea at home.
Yay!
And hopefully we'll hit an Asian restaurant, Asian market, and we can get you the grass jellies that are healthier and have better flavor than the boba.
The what?
Grass jelly.
And this is supposed to replace boba?
Uh-huh.
Why?
It has more flavor to it, and it lasts longer, and it has better iron content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grass jellies.
Yes.
Interesting.
And more authentic, but anyhow. So I'm
yeah.
playing with the mocha pot, trying to get our mochas made, which should be at least ready by now. But you can go ahead and jump into the new one, the Acts of Kindness study.
Yes. 1 second. I was trying to get my articles in order.
Okay.
Because you dropped a few there.
Well, it took me a minute to find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Greater Good magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to be happy, try to make someone else happy. So that is Greater Good magazine. A new study shows that doing kind things for others is an important path to happiness. So yeah, that was part of a recent study. And I'm pulling that up now so we can talk about that. Real quick. Oh, do I have to download a PDF? Really? Seriously? Oh, come on. No, that's downloading the citation. All right. Oh, so let's see. I'm trying to see when this is from so we can make sure. Oh, goodness. Sometimes the things I really hate about studies is they don't make it clear. All right, so we're just gonna forget. So anyway, this was 2021. This one actually came out in. But yeah, so in the experiment, college students reported on their happiness and on their sense of autonomy, competence, and connection to others, all what researchers considered basic psychological needs for well-being. Then they were randomly tasked to do something to either make themselves happier, make another person happier, or socialize. Assigning one group to socialize helped determine if seeking happiness for another had an effect above and beyond simply being in someone's presence. So later that day, after doing their task, participants reported what they did and then filled out their happiness and needs questionnaires again. Those who'd done something to make another person feel better were much happier themselves than participants in the other groups, and their greater happiness was tied to a stronger feeling of connection to that person. So this finding was not too surprising to lead researcher Mila Titova, who says that it fits in with prior research on happiness that found giving to others makes you happier than giving to yourself, and that pursuing happiness directly for yourself sometimes backfires. So, yeah. So, in another part of the study, she and her colleagues tried to rule out the possibility that making someone else happier makes you happier because of how emotions spread between people, which is known as the contagion effect. To do this, they repeated their experiment, but this time asked participants to identify the recipient of their kindness and say how much happier that person appeared to be. Then they contacted the recipient and measured their actual happiness levels. So the researchers found that a recipient's happiness level did not seem to be related to the increased happiness of the person trying to make them happy, which suggests something beyond emotion contagion is going on. However, if the participant perceived that their efforts made a difference in another's happiness, that made them happier.
Right.
So,
All right. So pause here. Talk about the waters and the syrup. I'm loving it. I'm hitting my 440s a day. Right now, I'm doing a blend of coconut and lime with the powders, with a half a packet of watermelon and a half a packet of pineapple.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah, so that's working really well. Now the syrups with Skinny Girl, I'm liking this. Now, granted, I ended up making myself a cappuccino. I made you an espresso. How do you like the syrups?
I'm actually great with the syrups. I've been kind of loving those. I've been a little weirded out by the fact that the chai ends up taking like a whole extra pump to even be noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Than the mocha. But then again, that drink usually has the chai lattes have a lot more in them,
Right.
volumetrically.
Right.
So okay, I kind of get it, but it was like that seems like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
yeah,
it
no, I've
really
been loving
isn't,
them.
because like three pumps is a tablespoon.
Okay. So yeah, I'm doing a little more than a tablespoon then.
Yeah.
Now as for the waters, I have done the peach water some.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking it,
Uh-huh.
but it's one of those things I don't really need all the time.
Right.
Like I thought I would like it a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm just kind of like, no, I'm just kind of okay with water.
Right.
So,
Right. And you've not tried the mixtures yet. You've just done the straight peach.
oh, but I have. You made me try them.
Well, I made you try one.
Not that particular one. That I think you're having. I don't think it was that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not loving that.
Okay.
I get why people would love it.
Mm-hmm.
I know the particular one you made, it just seemed like Hawaiian Punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think first and foremost, not one of my favorite things to begin with would be Hawaiian Punch.
Right.
But I don't know. It was too much.
Right.
It was like, no, I just like a hint. Because like when I've been doing my 40-ounce cup of water,
Mm-hmm.
like I do like one, maybe two shots of the peach.
Right.
And like that's it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm doing a half tablespoon.
Right.
Well, 2/3 of a tablespoon, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
1 to 2/3 of a tablespoon.
Yeah. 1 to 2/3. I mean, you're doing very little.
Yeah, but it's just enough. It's there.
Right.
You know, it's not overwhelming. It's not overpowering. It's kind of like the old sparkling waters that like Sam's Club had, or Sam's Choice sparkling waters that they used to have. Because they did a weird switch over, because it used to be this really light flavor.
Right.
And then they like dumped the flavor packet in.
Yeah.
And it became more soda-y, more like a fruit juice kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's when I kind of stopped on those. Like,
Right.
I even like the grape version of those, because just like a little of grape,
Right.
the thought that a grape had bathed in my water
Hmm.
was enough.
Right. And I miss the Canadian, I think it was called Canadian Clear, white grape water. I used that when I used to do a lot of outside activities when I was a kid. I would get a lot of those. I think that I'm going to next time order the grape, the white grape flavoring, and see if I can recreate the same thing.
Ooh, that would be very awesome.
Okay, so that's cool. But anyway, I think that you're reading some backup studies because I sent you like 40 different things at the same time. There was a lot of research released today from Yale, a few other places, and
Well, I
it,
started to pull the study, and then it was like, no, we're not getting to that right now.
right,
Was kind of how the process went. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna read the article.
right,
Just gonna
um,
focus on the article.
right. But no, what I found out was random acts of kindness actually, and we need to take on one that occurs a lot. And apparently, it's not the best random act of kindness.
It's not a random act of kindness, it's a random act of chaos.
Right.
Like, that's the thing to realize about it, is it starts out in kindness and an idea of creating a random act of kindness chain.
Mm-hmm.
That whole pay it forward, you pay for someone else's order, the person behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you just keep doing that. If you pull this stunt at a restaurant, they hate you.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure they hate the person who started it,
Mm-hmm.
as well as everyone else who decided to continue it.
Right.
Because it screws up their whole day.
Right. And the whole
Um,
system.
yeah. Well, because effectively you're stuck in this conundrum
Mm-hmm.
where you have like one order paid for by another person
Mm-hmm.
than who ordered it, and then it just keeps stacking,
Right.
and it starts getting really confusing as to who paid for what.
Exactly. And Shannon
Because
addresses this and hits it head on. If I'm paying $5 for a cup of coffee for myself, I'm not paying someone else's $30 order. Right.
right.
And the baristas don't want you to do that. They're coming out and saying, please don't do that. That ruins everything because the way the orders are, they can't tell who does what orders were paid for, what orders were not. What they suggest, what they are suggested to do, and what a different way of doing it is one, look at the barista and say thank you.
Yeah.
And give them a tip of equal to the value of a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Or throw an amount of money on grab a card for whatever restaurant you're at, throw an amount of money on it and give it to the server or the barista and say, here, use this whenever you want to use it for someone else. That makes it a lot easier for their system.
Oh, and talk about a random act of kindness.
Right.
That is a true random act of kindness. Because you're not just like, I always hate the pay it forward chains.
Yeah.
Is because like it's just chaos, one.
Right.
Two, I mean, someone's gonna get stuck paying for like a $30 order, like Shannon's talking about, when really they were just there for a $5 drink, and that's kind of lopsided.
Right.
I don't really find that kind exactly.
Right.
Because you also don't want to be the jerk that breaks the chain.
Right.
Even though, like, now with the knowledge that, like, no, this is screwing their whole day up.
Right. You're not really doing kindness to them.
Right. You may feel better about breaking the chain and being like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Right.
End of sentence. I'm not paying for the person behind me. I'm not like, stop the chain.
Right.
Get back to your day already in progress.
Right.
Though I'm sure for some restaurants it may change the amount of ordering people do.
Right.
Because if you're expecting the person in front of you to pay for it, you might decide to go ahead and get like a little extra.
Well, you might, but the other side of that, and this is what they found, was actually the random acts of kindness that cost nothing but time had the more impact.
Well, yeah. Well, but if you're doing the gift card,
Mm-hmm.
that means that you basically now empowered that service worker
Mm-hmm.
to take a moment when they're like, I feel really bad for this person.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, their card declined. It's like, it's obvious they're having a horrible day.
Mm-hmm.
They forgot their wallet. They're a customer that's there every day. You know them.
Right.
And like, they're totally off their game. To actually take a moment and be like, I got this.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Pull yourself together.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be okay.
Right.
It really makes a big difference, because I say that as someone who has been the benefit at least of a worker who is allowed either A, put in their own money, which, oh my God, thank you. Or B, literally had a manager decent enough to be like, I'll grant you some latitude on your drawer being off.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and talk about a customer service story, it's a customer service story. I was in a habit for a very long time, years ago. I went to McDonald's every single morning for breakfast on my way to work. I basically bribed myself to go to work. And I mean that sincerely. $3 a day, I bribed myself to go to work. Two of their breakfast burritos,
Mm-hmm.
and a large sweet tea. I had this worked out.
Right.
Like, I knew. And every once in a while I switched up and got the chicken biscuit, but that's a whole other story. But anywho, so I religiously went to the same McDonald's every single morning. Every morning I'm paying my $3.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I overslept, like, clothes weren't done. Like, it was just one of those chain reaction bad mornings.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, this went wrong, but it wouldn't have been a problem if you hadn't gotten up late, and this went wrong, and, well, if this hadn't gone wrong, then that wouldn't have gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And just on down the line. And so I end up in my car, in the line, at the McDonald's. I tell her my order, please pull forward to the first window, because it was that busy of a McDonald's. Like, there's a line. And I go to reach for my wallet, and I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there like, ah! Like, I don't have time to go home and get my wallet. I don't have time to come back through this line. I don't have time. I'm going to have to go the whole day without food. I have to now apologize to this person because now I'm fucking up their whole day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get up to the window and I'm like, I am so incredibly sorry. I walked out of the house without my wallet. And she just looked at me and said, that's okay. Pay me tomorrow. That's it. That was the whole great, like, giant earth-shattering statement. And it was like, wait, what? Like, no, I'm apologizing. I can't pay for my food.
Uh-huh.
Like, I can. I just don't have the means to do it. And she's like, you'll be through tomorrow. Don't worry about it. We'll just take care of it then.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, seriously? And she's like, yeah. Totally changed the day.
Uh-huh.
Like, because I've already had the calamity idea of, like, and one, I'm already having the chain reaction bad day. But this is the one point where the chain breaks, and it's like, okay, I can do this.
Right.
So yeah, and that employee got tipped very well the next morning
Uh-huh.
because I really appreciated that. It was $3 effing.
Right.
But when you're standing there in a line and you don't have time to go home and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, $3 means a lot
Mm-hmm.
of just like, can someone break the chain reaction here? Because I'm going to go to work hungry. I'm going to end up like snapping at someone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to be able to fix it at lunch because I don't have time to go back to the house, get my wallet, or I'm going to be late for work.
Right.
And then that becomes its own chain reaction.
Right, but that one action changed that. Now, what they found,
Mhm.
what the study has found, is that it's not always money that impacts the change. It's taking that time, saying a person's name when you're checking out,
Mhm.
smiling at a random person, letting them go ahead of you, whatever. Those smaller acts of kindness actually pays off more on your dopamine level
Mhm.
than any other behavior that you could be doing to change your dopamine level.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, Shannon also points out, I saw someone go, oh, someone paid for my coffee? What's the person behind me's total? $75? Fuck that. Bye. Have a tip. LOL.
Exactly. All right, guys, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about a few things that woo woo is now being proven to be scientific. This was some
There you
fun
go.
studies to get into. So we'll be right back after our break.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and as a certified spiritual life coach and shadow practitioner, I have thrown together everything that I have learned to develop a program that works for healing our shadow self and focusing on how we're going to heal ourselves for the future. I work with different types of energy work, such as EFT, TFT, and EFT energy. Reiki, access bars, and power forms. I've put them all together to create my own system that works. We also work with the tarot and the oracle. So I'm not just an energy worker and a healer, I'm a psychic as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, find out all about me, and book with me on there. I love you guys, and I will see you out there.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I'm a psychic medium and I work with tarot cards. I also practice Reiki and access bars. I would like to share with you what a reading with me is like. It is a blended reading of psychic and mediumship, and I deliver these messages exactly as they come through. I'm not going to mince words or add any padding. I am a professional, reliable, and honest communicator. I have readings available anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. You can book a reading with me at tracyvann.com. That's TRACYVANN.com. And no, I'll always tell you exactly what you need to hear.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Van chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvann.com, TRACYVANN.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
All right, welcome back.
Yeah.
So, y'all guys remember those gratitude journals? You know, attitude of gratitude. Had a whole line of them. I know, like my second brain, which is a video coming out tomorrow. We talk about the gratitude journaling process. So, Austin University done a study and found that, and then presented it to AMA, and then AMA done a study and found that gratitude journaling has the same effect as a antidepressant.
Uh-huh. It does. Now there's this isn't saying you should go off your antidepressant.
No.
Or anti-anxiety meds, depending upon how they're being used. But so the question for the study was: is mindfulness-based stress reduction non-inferior to escitalopram for the treatment of anxiety disorders? So in a randomized clinical trial of 276 adults with anxiety disorders, 8-week treatment with mindfulness-based stress reduction was non-inferior to the medication. And in the study, mindfulness-based stress reduction was a well-tolerated treatment option with comparable effectiveness to a first-line medication for patients with anxiety disorders. Now, it doesn't mean go off your meds and start journaling.
No.
It does mean that one, in combo, these two things may help more than either independently.
Right.
So if you are already on medication, it would be a great time to add a mindfulness practice. And if you're starting to have concerns that you might have some anxiety, it might be good to do some mindfulness journaling and see how you feel.
Right.
And determine whether you need to take a next step, or if maybe this is, kind of a self, I don't want to say self-healing, but a self-manageable situation.
Yeah, self-maintenance situation, more a holistic practice. Now, again, we are not doctors. Talk to your doctor and health and mental health professionals. But this study says that gratitude journaling, breathing exercises, guided meditations, and yoga help with anxiety.
So basically, the any mindfulness practice,
right,
has similar effects as as medications do. And of course, it's going to vary a little bit with each medication, but
and each body chemistry, because we have learned we have learned recently that I had a doctor tell me something, and I thought I'd never hear it out of a doctor's mouth.
Stop eating leafy green vegetables.
Yes, and stop your multivitamin.
Yeah, stop your multivitamin. For the love of God, stop your multivitamin.
Yeah. So it's been quite interesting. So medication and medications does not affect everyone equally. Medical studies should not affect everyone equally. It is suggested, however, from this study, and it was done in multiple different places, that it's part of therapy now. And that there is science back behind gratitude journaling. That it actually does something.
Yes. Well, and I think it's one of those things that I am a little cautious to say this. I think we've grown up on the idea generationally Because we came out like we started coming of age in the age of Prozac.
Right.
And then the next medication, next medication. And I don't know if anyone else caught on. Suddenly everyone had
Mm-hmm.
a medication treatable problem.
Right.
Like, it just seemed like everyone was depressed, everyone has anxiety, everyone has
Right.
That's great for pharmaceutical companies. I will
Right.
say that much.
Mm-hmm.
That's great when you can prove to a large group of people through a TV commercial that they need to talk to their doctor
Mm-hmm.
About their problem,
Right.
and get a prescription.
Right. But then you have the other side of that, which is the holistic approach, the life coach approach of journaling. You know, oh, you've got these issues, write about them. You've got,
Right.
you know, this practice of gratitude, journaling changes your perspective. It will fix it. It will fix this. Affirmations will do. You will see changes here, here, and here.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to get medical doctors to go behind us and go, well, damn, Louise Hayes had something 50 years ago.
Well, there is that. But I think it also became a bit of a joke at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That we were going to, you know, like, because I know Saturday Night Live, I believe it was, did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of skits.
Mm-hmm.
With with this motivational speaker character that was very, like, hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of spoke to this idea of, like, how are you going to positive affirmation yourself to a better life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, isn't that just kind of, you know, or gratitude yourself to a better life?
Right.
Because on one level, it sounds like wishful thinking.
Right.
And in a sense it is. You are, in a sense, talking about things you wish for.
Right.
And each of those practices says, okay, now move beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the key missing point a lot of people miss, is now move beyond wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, break it down, and how do you move there?
Right.
How do you get there? How do you make that happen? Because a lot of it does end up coming across
Mm-hmm.
with this, like, oh, you're just going to say these these magic words,
Uh-huh.
and suddenly everything gets better, and it doesn't work that way.
Right.
At all.
Right.
Like, that's not the deal.
Right.
It starts at, like, saying the words, and that's an actual action that connects with your brain,
Mm-hmm.
and makes the thing that seemed impossible possible.
Right.
Okay, now do the work from the place in which you're not starting at, this is impossible, I'm never going to make it, I should give up, everyone's laughing at me, everyone thinks I'm stupid. Now try to work without that in your head.
Right.
And see where you get.
Right. And then you have what's called the red Honda effect.
Okay.
This is actually a really cool thing. It's a really interesting experiment if you want to do a self-experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, how many Kia Sportages did you know? White Kia Sportages did you notice until we owned one?
You know, honestly, not that many. And then suddenly have to differentiate between three in a Walmart parking lot, and you really have a moment of, like, there's a lot of these fucking vehicles on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an experience I've had over multiple cars, actually.
Right.
It happened with the Kia Soul. It happened. God, did it happen with Ford Escort there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then heaven help me.
Right.
Heaven help me find the right car.
Mm-hmm.
When I had the Mercury Topaz.
Right.
Do you know
mm-hmm.
how many cars
mm-hmm.
look like
uh-huh.
the Mercury Topaz, that have a similar body style, that all came in some form of gray?
Mm-hmm.
You walk out into a Walmart parking lot in the middle of the night,
mm-hmm.
you're going to find like 10 of them parked in a row.
Right. But there's this part of the brain called the reticular brain, the part of the brain called the reticular, and it's your filter. Okay? And it's kind of like a lint trap
Mm-hmm.
in a dryer. It filters out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
You only pay attention to what you're looking for.
Exactly. So if you're, only looking, if you look at, say, a red Honda, your brain goes, Joe is interested in red Hondas. So all Joe's going to see is red Hondas.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to let that through, and it's going to catch his attention every time. Max, I love Max. Brenda's Jeep, I think it's the most gorgeous vehicle ever. And every time we see a Max lookalike, it's like, there's that Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started, well, and it's, or you could just call it the punch buggy effect.
Right.
Like the existence of that game for children.
Right.
Basically made it impossible
Uh-huh.
to not see
Right.
a Volkswagen Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't.
Right.
You just could not go anywhere and not see one.
Right. But so
I have permanent bruising to prove it.
I know.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah, and I know who gave you the permanent bruising.
Oh, you might be wrong, but please try.
My favorite sister-in-law?
No.
Really?
No. My very good Christian next door neighbor, Sarah, who was 2 years older than me, punched like a flippin' linebacker, okay?
Uh-huh.
And she always saw it like a second before I did.
Yeah, Sarah taught you some bad habits and really eliminated a lot of board game play for us.
Yes, she did. My good Christian neighbor.
Yeah.
She's a great person. Don't ever get me wrong. She is a great person. This is not a trash her moment. But there are things.
Yeah, there are effects left over from your childhood subconscious that is like, nope, not going there. Nope, not going there. Nope, we're not playing Monopoly. We are adapting the royal law of no monopoly play.
Yeah, no, he is royally said there will be no monopoly.
Yes, we're going to act like the British family here.
She read a book that had a strategy for winning Monopoly. And so every time I played against her, she always won. And I just thought it was because she was really good at Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
And then she shared.
Yeah.
No, it's strategy. It's statistical probabilities.
Right.
And if you want to win at Monopoly, you do this.
Right.
And I did it, and then I just kept winning.
Right.
And so I didn't play Monopoly for years.
Right.
We played, and it kicks right back in. You buy this, 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 and this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you'll win the game.
No, we're not playing ever again. But back to that, the reticular brain actually went filter. So when you're doing affirmations, you're reprogramming that brain. Example, one of my favorite is I'm a money magnet. So my brain looks for financial opportunities to come in.
Yeah. Is this a financial opportunity? I'm looking for financial opportunities. Is this a financial opportunity? Oh, that's a financial opportunity. I can make money at that.
Yeah. So it comes in.
Oh, yeah. Well, now Shannon says grab the reds and corners, and the reds are technically correct.
Mm-hmm.
But really what you want is to get as much of, like if you want to know the theory, get as much of the property between jail and go to jail.
Uh-huh.
Like forget the side of the board into go and the side of the board out of go.
Mm-hmm.
Just forget them. They it doesn't matter who owns those. If you want to pick up railroads, that's great, but statistically they're not all that awesome either. But you get that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
between jail and go to jail. And literally the combinations of roles will almost certainly guarantee you're
Mm-hmm.
going to make money.
Right.
So
Anyhow. So that's how, affirmations work. Gratitude reduces anxiety, reduces stress. My morning routine makes so much more sense now from a scientific point of view. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
But no, and then the affirmations are beneficial because it does get you in the mindset.
Right.
So you are starting to see the repetitiveness.
Right.
And it does become repetitive. Like you can't just do it once and be like, I'm going to be a millionaire or
No.
I'm going to have financial success.
Right.
I'm great with finances. You can't do it once and then be like, okay, that didn't work.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, it didn't.
No.
Train the brain.
Yes. Train the brain, clear the filter, reprogram those thought patterns of, because your brain naturally is a defense mechanism. It's designed to defend you, especially nobody gets out of childhood without trauma. So we're pre-programmed our brain is pre-programmed to defend and filter. So you've got to program it to filter the things you don't need and to filter and to let in the things you want.
I do have to ask a question though.
Okay.
Do you ever find yourself finding everything else first? Like, is it like looking for your keys when you misplace them in the house and you find the weirdest things that have also been missing, that also got misplaced, that also aren't where they ought to be? Does it also work the same way? Do you start having this moment where like, okay, so you're single, you're childless, you're living in an apartment, you need a car, and you start with like an affirmation of like, I want to be more successful, and then like you get a car, you find a spouse, you find like, does it work like that at all? I'm just curious.
I don't know because one, the correct affirmation is I am a success.
Yes, Brenda, I have ruined Monopoly for everyone.
Yeah. It's always a statement of I am, then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's always a positive statement. Oh, it's that type of thing. And then for like, tomorrow's video will explain this, but my 5 things. Normally, there's one for each area of my life that I want to focus on.
Okay. I was just curious if anyone ever hits that.
I
Like,
don't know.
does it have a find your keys effect?
Probably.
Where, like, everything in the house comes out first.
Right.
Because literally, if you're looking for your keys, it's almost like you pick up the house and shake it like a sifter.
Uh-huh.
And then all this crap falls out, and eventually the keys are there.
Right.
Or they're hanging in the front door, one of the two. Good places to check the front door
and the freezer.
But like they're either they sift out or they're in the front door. This is always where the keys are. But I was just curious if it's like everything else falls into place as well, and like you start in a different part of your life than what you really meant to, or you really are focusing on. And then you get there, but it's like everything else falls into place first.
Right.
Because one could argue that, like, well, how are you going to be financially successful if you can't get a job? How are you going to get a job if you don't have a car?
Right.
Old school logic. I know there's a bunch of millennials watching going, or not millennials, but Gen Z's watching going, no, that's not how that works. We don't have to drive ever.
Yeah.
God help alphas. Like if you're watching, you shouldn't be. Because you're too young.
Exactly.
Unless you're older now. If it's like 2042, then you can watch this. It's
right.
okay.
Yeah.
Have your own.
But I don't know. I know that the affirmations I work on, they work a little bit oddly.
And they work a little bit what?
Oddly.
Okay.
Like, if I'm working on relationships and connectivity, then that'll happen a lot easier than money. Like
Mhm.
things that are for me, things that are psychological or physical based work faster for me than energy exchanges.
Okay, well, and then maybe that is kind of the point, is that with the energy exchange, it's like, well, okay, that's the end goal,
Right.
and we got to lay a foundation and some bricks
Mm-hmm.
to get you there.
Right.
So that could be comparable in what I was kind of talking about. Is it like everything else shakes out first,
Right.
and then you get there? It's just like, yeah, there's a bunch of layers in between.
Right. And then there is the and this comes from Mel Robbins. It's say you're trying to manifest the ability to run a 5K race.
Mhm.
Well, standard manifestation says picture yourself crossing the finish line, of the 5K race.
I'm so bad at this. I saw myself like shitting myself the minute the starter pistol went off, and then falling and banging my knee and breaking it. I'm so
Well,
bad at this.
but it's like, and that's a trauma response there. But it
Okay.
works on but what she programs in is about thinking about getting up in the morning. It's still dark, it's cold and rainy, and you've got to go out and run. Think about when you're on mile 2 of this race and your earbuds go up. Mile 5, when you're almost to the finish line but you trip on your shoe. you know Program in those things, because it's really hard if you're sitting in a studio apartment and you're trying to
Okay.
manifest that house on the beach, that 6 room, 4 bathroom house. Well, you've got to do some hop, skips, and jumps to get there.
Mhm.
You've got to, visualize yourself, getting the apartment, going through the lease, finding the right home. It's a stage event. So you need to also pre play in your mind those things.
Okay.
Okay.
Meanwhile, can I be the smartass who points out that if you're on mile 5 of a 5K,
Uh huh.
you've ran it twice?
Okay.
Sorry.
But to be playing that stuff out in your mind as you're, trying to manifest it, because then you already have done that. You've already gone through that event. Um, this one, I was like, that's fucking witchcraft. I've been teaching that in witchcraft forever.
Mhm.
And that was the power of scent.
Absolutely. You go through that one pretty heavily.
I did.
Mhm.
Because I always tell my students, if they got a big test or something when they're studying for it, one, plan it out because you'll do better. Actually, lay out a plan to study for the test. Don't crowd or cram it in. The other part is to focus on scent. And what they found in studying older patients,
Mhm.
these are in their 70s, 80s, and on, that a scent could literally bring them back to a memory. So what they
Mhm.
did was they took like the taste and smell of the food they had for their wedding, and they took a 3D printer and printed like a Listerine thing.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing to think of. Like, this is food grade printing. This is not like polymer
Right,
plastic.
right,
Just FYI, in case
right.
anyone else had the same moment of, what do you mean they've 3D printed food?
Hmm.
It's a thing you can do.
Yeah. And when they gave it to the patient, the brain fired off the same vivid memory
Mhm.
of when they had their wedding, or when they graduated college, or when this event occurred, or when that event occurred, so vividly that they could actually fully remember it. Now, my recommendation, and it's an old witchcraft recommendation, is if you want to remember something, study with rosemary. And then when you go to take the test, take the rosemary oil, put it on your hands, and you'll remember everything that you have. This just concretes that science. Science
Mhm.
just got up to almost 300 years of witchcraft.
Pretty much. Well, moreover, it just demonstrated it. It
Right.
took it and went, is this real?
Right.
Is that a thing? Like, are all these, like, essential oil people just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Right.
Or are they doing a thing?
Right.
Yeah, so both scent memory and taste memory, which was the bigger part of this study, because we like scent memory has been somewhat recognized before this.
Right.
Taste memory,
Uh-huh.
the taste to memory connection, that's been a lot less noticed, or a
Right.
lot less attention has been paid to it, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So one, seeing that in and of itself is really awesome. But two, realizing that some of these things, yeah, taste is great, but you can also do them with just scent, like you're
Right.
saying with the rosemary.
Right.
You don't have to eat anything with rosemary. You just attach scents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was even like in some of the stuff that we've watched that has been generated out of this, brought up a story about someone who was planning a wedding and asked someone else about theirs, what they would recommend. And part of it was having the ability to create a signature scent
Mm-hmm.
to attach to that moment, so you could literally just smell that and be there,
Right. See, now,
because it's a one-to-one.
right. Now, what I'd like to see come out of this is I'd like them to take the study a step farther
Mm-hmm.
and take patients that are of early Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
find out the sense, and see if it causes the same recurrent memories.
Yes. I can go ahead and tell you yes.
Okay.
There were studies done with this all the way back, I think, into the early 90s, that informed Alzheimer's care. And so if your loved one ended up in a really good, Alzheimer's unit,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot done with different with different senses
Uh-huh.
to help them connect to memory,
Uh-huh.
including like music therapy and touch therapy, like to reintegrate some portions of the brain
Mm-hmm.
that can often get lost in an institutional setting, especially.
Mm-hmm.
But built on the idea that a lot of people do retain memory,
Mm-hmm.
even though they have an advanced dementia.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it takes more sometimes to activate it.
Right.
So for like just literally playing a song from someone's youth
Mm-hmm.
can trigger them back into a youthful experience and a
Right.
youthful time, and remembering parts of their past.
Right.
Versus, like some things like cooking a favorite dinner
Mm-hmm.
can remind them of when they last made it, or like the one special time they made it, or and you do have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do have to kind of, it's trial and error,
Right.
because the way our brains attach, especially like strong senses,
Uh-huh.
to, for instance, traumatic memory.
Right. Which, there was that one study that was talked about, and I'll go ahead and, well, there's one case, and it's actually documented in a book where this therapist was treating this child that had been through a lot of trauma, a lot of
Mhm.
physical abuse. And all of a sudden, he started having he's normally a really good student. He began having problems in a math class.
Mhm.
Terrible problems, acting up, being belligerent, just out of his range. And the therapist took time to lean in.
Mhm.
And it came to light that the teacher had recently changed colognes.
Mhm.
And it happened that the same cologne brought back the trauma responses.
Yeah. Well, because it was heavily attached to that event. Like it
Right.
was, I don't know if the perpetrator of the event was just happened to be wearing it, or if it was like they were happened to be wearing a lot of it.
Right.
Like, or God forbid, this poor math teacher, we do underpay our teachers. was wearing like Axe body spray, because no amount of it is an appropriate amount.
Right.
Like Axe body spray, like is enough to fumigate a country.
Right. Well,
So,
with that, however, you're banned from CK1.
what now?
You're banned from the scent CK1.
Oh, good Lord. I can't remember the last time I wore that.
It's okay. You're not wearing it ever again. Not if you
That's
want to
fine.
comfortably.
No, I was seriously trying to think back. Once upon a time, I did have that in like the cabinet. And like, no. Well, it's the same as like I've banned every person, every man I've ever dated from getting anywhere near Old Spice.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, nope, we will break up.
Right.
Like, you cannot wear my father's cologne and have a successful relationship with me. It will not work.
No.
And there's a couple of others as well.
Right.
Like, God forbid you can drink beer. But you better not be drinking my father's beer.
No, I'm not
like,
drinking
I see
beer.
the Miller Lite and it's over.
Yeah.
Because there is no version, like I like my childhood smells like Old Spice and Miller Lite smattered with Pall Mall cigarettes.
Well,
like, that's my childhood right there. No, we don't do that. No.
CK1, what is that other one? Black Velvet, or no, it's Old Country. Yeah, Old Country by Avon.
Okay.
Both of those are
I don't think we have any concerns there. I think we have totally different scent profiles to start with.
Right.
Like CK1 being the only overlap, but I mean, my God, there was a point in time who didn't own that.
I don't know. It used to be someone's signature scent. But it, however, made a very big impression. And this is the idea. Guys develop, especially if you have young children with sensory problems, you need a signature scent. Like, wear the same cologne if you have a child with, like, not Down's, autism. Wear the same cologne, because then they'll register that deeper in their brain.
Well, and it also becomes very important with people who have like visual deficits.
Right.
Is sometimes a lot of, like, again, heightening of senses when you lose one. They become like people who are who have visual deficits become very sensitive to like colognes and perfumes. One, in the effect of too much really is too much. But two, especially in terms of awareness of someone's presence.
Right.
And awareness of roughly who that is.
Right.
So it can be a little confusing sometimes. If you like change colognes on someone. And I could also go so far as to say I've dated someone who was cologne obsessed. And I can safely say they will never cause me to ban a cologne. But my God, it was like there was a personality that went with each one. And so it's this weird like thing of like never being able to attach a single scent to someone.
Right.
And it's very awkward.
It is. So the other one was that you can actually change your mood with about 1 to 4 seconds by hearing bird sounds.
Bird chirps.
Bird chirps.
The chirping of a bird.
Yep.
Has an 8-hour positive effect.
Right.
Like, literally listen to a bird chirp, listen to a recording of a bird chirp.
Yeah.
You will have a positive mental status or an improved mental status for like 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And it can be on YouTube.
Yeah. I don't know. I think for some people that probably speaks more to like inner city living, where you really can
Mm-hmm.
be divorced of nature.
Right.
That you, or if, especially if you are in like a developing area,
Mm-hmm.
like that has disturbed wildlife and frightened them every morning, and you're just getting in this really sullen mood, and you think it's just because of all the construction.
Right.
It is, but it might not be.
Right.
Like it is because of the construction,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the construction that's bugging you.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing your auditory cue
Uh-huh.
of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Go
So
figure.
what of the study, because there's a few more, but what of these studies hit you the weirdest or the aha moment one?
I so far,
Uh-huh.
or can I go on to one of the
You can
other
go
ones?
on to the other one. Yeah, all of them.
Okay, so the one that hit me the weirdest, or the aha, or I don't know, aha was exactly the right response. 90% of couples engage in mundane, keyword mundane, secrets from their partner.
Mm-hmm.
Things, and the definition of mundane being these are not things that your partner would actually have a problem with,
Right.
but you keep it from them anyway, just because. And that one of the biggest ones
Uh-huh.
is among vegetarian couples
Mm-hmm.
who together they are vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
When you pull them apart, and this was the other part of it that was like, are you fucking shitting me? Not only is it that that 90% of people keep mundane secrets from their partner, it's usually the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the biggest one being vegetarian partners eat meat when they're not around their vegetarian partner, at
Right.
least in some quantity.
Right.
Maybe it's beef jerky, maybe it's, they have bacon on a sandwich, whatever little thing it is, and they do not tell the other one. And they're both doing the same thing. So if you're keeping a mundane secret, a secret that your partner really isn't going to be all that upset about, like they're not going to care,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be like, okay, whatever.
Right.
So you had some bacon, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
It's not life altering. It doesn't affect them. That's the other part of the mundane secret, is it doesn't
Actually, it does affect them.
Does it?
Yes, the other part of that study was it found that people that do that turn around and show up more often.
Yes, because there's guilt associated, and it actually makes them feel a twinge of guilt towards their partner, so they actually treat their partner better.
Well, no,
so it's a good thing.
More dedicated to whatever.
Right. It makes them have better appreciation for their partner, I guess.
Yeah.
Is one way of putting it. It's this weird thing that, so to speak, lying to your partner is a good thing when it's a mundane lie.
Right.
And does not directly impact them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not lying about their health. You're not lying about their weight. You're not lying about how they looked in that outfit. You're not lying about their chances of getting a job. None of those things. We're talking about things like, I'm on a diet.
Mm-hmm. And you had a cookie.
I had a cookie. And when I say a cookie, I mean it was a cookie cake. And no, that's too far.
Or, another example is couples will have and we had this problem. It's just like, fine, we're not doing this. We would start watching a show together, and Joe would skip ahead.
There was no hope that was ever not going to happen.
I know. Like, it wasn't a thing.
Before you go on this one, like, you're just going to drop that and be like, Joe's a bastard. Let me explain. I will start watching a show, he will watch a part of said show and be like, we should watch that together.
Mm-hmm.
We will never watch that show together ever again.
Uh-huh.
I have been waiting because the first time he did this to me was, which season was it of American Horror Story? Because you had watched some of it. I had been religiously watching it. I'd watched every episode up to a point. And then it started a new season.
Let's see. We'll name off the ones that I've watched. I watched Coven from beginning to end. I've watched some Freak Show. I've watched The Asylum.
I'm just going and looking now.
Hotel was the one we were watching, and you jumped ahead, and I was like, okay, I'm done with it.
No, you wanted to watch it together, and I kept trying to make that happen, and then I realized it never was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And so then I just went ahead and watched it. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I've waited. I was patient. I was like, okay. But there comes a point.
Right.
Okay, so, yeah. So, yeah, I watched, what are the ages? Okay. So Murder House, watched it. Asylum.
Watched it.
Actually missed Coven.
How dare you?
Like, I only caught parts of it. Freak Show, totally watched. Hotel, totally watched. Roanoke, totally watched. Cult, I think, was the one I didn't get to.
Yeah, we haven't watched Cult yet.
And then I don't think I've seen anything past I did watch Apocalypse. I know I watched that. Maybe I watched Cult. What? Someone trigger me. What was Cult? I know I haven't seen 84 double feature or NYC.
Right.
Like I can tell you for certain. But I feel like I've watched or tried to watch Apocalypse. What was Cult? Hold on, I gotta scroll down now because I've totally forgotten. Set in 2016 and 17, the fictional town of Brookfield Heights, Michigan, is left divided in the wake of Donald Trump's election as president. Oh. Okay, that one I didn't watch just because I was done really quickly. I think I made like 2 episodes into Cult and went, no.
Right.
That was too topical.
Right.
But then I did watch Apocalypse.
Right.
So yeah, we ended up having a problem after Roanoke.
No, we didn't get to Roanoke.
I did.
We were in Freak Show. You skipped ahead.
I thought we were in Hotel.
No, we watched Hotel.
Okay.
We watched that in the weekend.
Okay, then it had to have been Roanoke. Because
Right.
that was 2016. That would make the most sense.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, so Shannon points out that's the one with clowns and the purge. Okay, but Shannon, did you not see Freak Show? You just basically described that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not wrong. She's not wrong.
Right.
I remember now that Cult was that, but also so was Freak Show. Anywho.
Yeah. So, with that, that's just not a place where we agree on. So we moved on from that.
Yeah, well, but it was one of those things like that was.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, but but guys, and I think the one that actually ticked you off the most was Lucifer.
Right.
That's the first one he caught me.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot I paused an episode because
Right.
I'd been really good. I'd been going back and resetting all of them.
Right.
And I forgot to reset after I binge watched. He was like, Did you watch? No. I haven't seen it at all.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. So Shannon didn't like Freaks nor Clowns, so I avoid both those seasons. Fair enough. Yeah, Lucifer was great.
Right.
But yeah, we've had a few shows we've tried to watch together, but we've actually had success with some.
Yeah, we've had success with some. We do better with movies that are not. Yeah, but those are movies that aren't sequels because I hate sequels.
I don't hate sequels. I appreciate sequels for what they are.
Right.
As in, typically they're never as good as the original because you're just playing off the franchise and interest in more. Some of them are okay though.
Right.
Like some of them are standalone enough that they do okay. And then some of them it's just like it has its own value and sometimes it's comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Now You Just Went Too Far and it's kind of like B horror.
Right.
Or it's like, but I have to say the scary movie franchise, that one did really well.
Right.
And I think it's because it is a parody.
Right.
Every single one of them is a parody of other horror movie franchises.
Right. And again, I have so many issues with some things. It would just blow out. I'll look at it and go, I've seen this movie. And he's like, no, you haven't. It just came out. It came out in the 70s under a different name with different characters. It's the same goddamn storyline. Like Romeo and Juliet has been played so many damn times. I'm tired of Romeo killing Juliet and sucking off Gizmo.
Okay. But no, there's yeah. Well, and there are a fair number of movies that are stolen plots.
Yeah.
I struggle to say that I've already seen it, even if I've already pretty much seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it goes a little different, and it's like that's a different. At least they took some liberties with it.
Right.
But yeah, I've seen quite a few that it's like,
right.
Like Hallmark, God help you.
Right.
Hallmark, come on, man. It's the same movie. Every Hallmark movie is the same.
Right.
Like, you can Mad Lib them.
Yes, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, out of all of the studies, because I threw a bunch of them at you because there was like a large release today of studies. What was the most like, what the fuck? How is that real for you?
I think the exercise one, just because I'm having more problems with what they mean by only doing the second part of exercises. Or is it only doing the first part?
It's only doing
the
first part. Well, and the example is sitting.
Yeah.
You can actually properly set, and you get the same exercise as doing squats.
Yeah. But it's not that easy.
Right.
It's not you just set gracefully and demurely into a chair. It's that you really slow it down.
Right. And like the chair's going to break. Or it's a dainty chair. Which I could see that because about 1950s is when they stopped making good furniture. And that's also the time that people just started like flopping in the chair. And we've had this discussion. But no, what they're talking about is like a bicep curl. A lot of people think that the importance is lifting it up. You actually get more by letting it go.
Slowly.
Releasing it is where you get more of the muscle action and muscle growth than picking it up. Yeah. Which I find interesting on both those because I think physical therapists have been telling seniors how to get better looking butts and legs for years now.
Necessity is the mother of invention?
I don't know.
Like,
It's
I
just
got nothing there.
right. All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, we will find out if Joe's the asshole. And I'm going to give him a question for at the end of the show, but give him
Mhm.
time to think through it. Are
Mhm.
any of these studies going to change how you do some things?
Okay.
All right, so let's take a break, y'all. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Sandy Starr. I'm a psychic and I work on Keen, and I have been working on Keen for over 22 years. You can reach me on 01068. I deal with a myriad of subjects, but I do specialize in relationships, marriages, divorces, is he cheating, is she cheating, whatever the dynamic of the relationship is, I will guide you through. I've got amazing radar for cheaters, so I will tell you the truth if he or she is cheating. I can help with any subject you need me to help you with besides relationships, and I look forward to hearing from you. Again, you can reach me through Keen. My extension number is 01068. I really look forward to hearing from you and helping you with whatever you need me to help you with.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I'm a psychic medium and I work with tarot cards. I also practice Reiki and access bars. I would like to share with you what a reading with me is like. It is a blended reading of psychic and mediumship, and I deliver these messages exactly as they come through. I'm not going to mince words or add any padding. I am a professional, reliable, and honest communicator. I have readings available anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. You can book a reading with me at tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. And no, I'll always tell you exactly what you need to hear.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available. If you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out, I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here from Rowan Temple of Light, and I'm here to tell you about our events this summer. First up is Beltane in the Hills, May 13th, and that is from 1 to 6. We have entertainment, we have a bunch of vendors, we have a fairy photo shoot. It's going to be exciting. You having any questions, reach out to Earth Magic or to myself. After that, we have Central West Virginia Pagan Pride, August 19th. That's at Holly Gray Park from 11 to 5 for the day. And we will have Sarah Masters coming down from Pittsburgh to be our keynote speaker. We have some great classes for that. So if you want to get involved, reach out to Rowan Temple of Light at Gmail, or just follow us along on Facebook at Rowan Temple of Light, and we look forward to seeing you out in the community. See you there.
All right, welcome back.
Okay.
All right, so are you an asshole? Plead your case.
Am I the asshole for liquidating my daughter's college fund to keep our dream house? I, 50 female, lost my husband 4 years ago. I also have a 16-year-old daughter. My late husband left me everything and told me to trust his lawyer. My husband had worked for 20 years as a doctor and did some minor investing, so I inherited over 7 figures. A year later, I decided to list our home of 12 years and received an offer too good to refuse. With the inheritance, as well as the influx of cash from selling the house, I decided to move my daughter and I to Malibu because we always dreamed of a home next to the beach, but my husband was exceptionally tight-fisted and called homes there money pits. We found a beautiful home by the sea. I never personally handled anything regarding buying a home before, so I did not anticipate all the extra costs beyond the sticker price. But my daughter was so excited, I decided to go for it. My late husband's lawyer was furious at my decision, so I decided to stop taking his calls. I ended up signing with a money manager who said that we'd be passively earning 90% of what surgeons earned per year. But the money manager ended up tanking a lot of our investments. I took the dwindling money out and made my own investments, which made it worse. And long story short, because of all of that, I have only around $35,000 available to me now. Not to mention our debts. With the amount available to me, I'm looking at only being able to pay 1 month of a mortgage upkeep, and then I'm basically out of luck until my business gets clients. However, the place where we do have a significant amount of money is the fund my husband started for our daughter. With the money there, I could prevent our credit cards from being shut down and not have to worry about the mortgage for many more months. So I ended up liquidating my daughter's college fund. I told her about it today and she was furious and said she cannot believe all her dad's work is gone. She also said she won't be supporting me for retirement. Am I the asshole for trying to fix my mistakes and trying to keep our house?
No. No. I don't think you are the asshole. You're covering the expenses right now. Having a college fund is nice. Having a college fund is great. But when you're in a position of we've got to throw everything we've got into this problem to fix it, then you throw everything into this problem to fix it. Does that mean you don't help her with college? No. When things get better, steady, when you get back on your feet, you reevaluate and help do that. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to stop the ship from sinking because you've got this one package that has all that you need in it tied up on a mast somewhere for her to get an easy ride. What's your thoughts?
I kind of have to lean towards you are the asshole. Okay. Not because of what you did. Not because of what you did. Exactly. I think you made bad choices. I think you made bad choices. You're trying to right the ship. You're trying to hold on to and basically unfuck yourself and your daughter by extension. Right. Who has one who has 4 more years or 2 more years until college to begin with. If they take a traditional 18-year-old goes to college track. 2, you're 4 years ago, your husband passed. So I'm assuming about a year later. No, it was literally a year later. So 3 years ago, you bought a home. So you're still within the capital gains problem.
Right.
If you sell the house now to get out of it,
right,
you're going to get taxed heavily.
Right.
I don't think you had many other good choices at this point. But to take the one large asset you had and liquidate it. Right. My problem is you're struggling to handle and unscrew yourself for what you've done.
Right.
All of it looks short-sighted.
Right.
Up to and including liquidating your daughter's college fund. Right. And I think that's more so where she reacted.
Right.
Is you're talking about unscrewing your current situation.
Right.
By liquidating that fund. You're not really talking to her about that, what that means for her. And what, if anything, you're looking to do to either offset that, make up for that, change the situation, what you don't have any long-term plan other than unscrew yourself and then, okay, hopefully everything goes, sunshine and roses.
Right.
That's the asshole part to me.
Right.
Is you don't have a long-term plan started.
Right.
You haven't even worked on a long-term plan. You're not talking a long-term plan. You're not considering, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm going to do for you. And
right.
this, or, at least this is what I hope to be able to do. Here's my plan.
Right.
And I think that's what she's reacting to. I think if you had a plan and you started with a plan,
right.
And look, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm really, really sorry. Here's my plan.
Right.
It's a solid plan. I have a solid business. I'm just waiting for clients to show up. 6 months, I'm going to be able to put this much money aside for you each month.
Right. But see, here's the major problems. She's now had 3 setbacks. Setback 1 was she trusted this lawyer, which I don't think she should have.
Well, it sounds like the lawyer was fine, and if she had listened to the lawyer, she wouldn't have sold the house, and she wouldn't have gone with the money manager, and all of this would have been fine. It was the money manager.
I don't like the lawyer.
Okay.
I don't like lawyers in general handling money. They are schooled in law, not finances. Secondly, never have a money manager. Sorry, you don't need one. Third, don't invest in something you don't know. So she's already made 3 mistakes. The ship is going down. It's either lose the home and everything she's got, or at least save the home and give her a house to live in for 2 years and to get her shit together, and then rebuild.
Right. Which I think is probably the better. And I'm not saying it's a wrong choice. I'm not saying, it's your daughter's college fund. You can never touch it for any reason.
Right.
This is a reason.
Right.
Because your daughter's ability to live, eat, and have shelter today, is a lot more important than her future college need.
Right.
I totally agree with where you're pulling the money from and why you're pulling it.
Right. Now she needs what I call a kick-ass plan.
Yeah, she needs a kick-ass plan.
How to rebuild it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm afraid she doesn't have.
Right.
Because right now she's just looking at okay, this is going to let me pay the mortgage. This is going to keep the credit cards from getting shut down. This is going to, bring the boat back above water.
Right.
But that's the extent of her thinking, is what it really feels like. Is it's like, just get the boat above water and then everything's going to be great. And it's like, no, it's not.
Right.
You have to maintenance and upkeep this, or the boat's going right back down.
Right. But
okay,
and we've been through those. We've been through this a couple of times with business. And it's like, okay, let's get back together. Let's regroup. What do we got to do? Where do we got to go with this? How do we prevent this from happening? And one of the key things is you get in there, you make a plan, you stick to the plan. You ride the plan out. And the plan is never stocks. The plan is never investments. The plan is never listening to someone else. The plan is riding your hard buckle and shoestringing it and having joint discussions with now the daughter who's an investor in your business.
Yep. You are riding her future on this. So she definitely has a place at this table. And I would say that's also part of the asshole situation is I know she's 16.
Right.
And that's an awkward age.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about serious discussions about money.
Right.
For a lot of parents.
Right.
To involve their child in making the decision. So it's their decision. Because it is her money in a sense. It was set aside for her. This is a legacy from her father.
Right.
This is really important.
Right.
And I can see deep emotional attachment, and I think mom should have seen deep emotional attachment was going to be there as well.
Right.
And so you really needed your daughter to understand that, okay, things are really bad.
Right.
Here's what I'm thinking of doing.
Right.
Would you agree to that?
Right.
And then let her, kind of work through that. It may not be an immediate decision that day,
Right.
but just go, what else? What can you give me something else I can do, because I've run out of ideas and options.
Right.
Don't dump all your problems on her, but go, look, this is where we're at.
Yeah. The bills are going to get cut off. The house is going to get foreclosed on. We're going to be homeless, and then in 2 years you can go to college.
Yes.
See, and this is my problem with college funds in general. Is one, they're nice if they're optional. Two, they need to be started by the child and built by the child, not just by the parents.
Right. Well, and I can understand that. And there is an importance there. I do think in this situation, the death of her father, because most likely with her being, 4 years ago, so 12, there probably weren't any major bequeathments other than this account.
Well, I'm sure however, that the credit card bills, the money, the bills that went out, wasn't just the mom buying the, Shopping Channel Network.
Right. And I'm 100% sure of that as well.
Right.
That these are expenses that came from her care, in addition to bad mistakes that mom made with finances.
Right.
So, one, understanding her role in the finances, and that this is part of how we got here. It's not all your fault. You didn't do this.
Right.
Like, for the most part, I did this, but now I have to be concerned because, it's not just me.
Right.
It's us.
Right.
And this money that is yours, in a sense, and yes, I understand the last thing your father left you, and probably potentially the only thing she actually that had her name on it,
right,
from him, more than likely, because if that's the case, is going to be a very intense emotional reaction. Like, Dad left this to me.
Right, but this is also a very important relationship thing. And we've got a new series called Psychic the Plan's Budget Edition, where you see us as a couple work out our budgets. You have to, if you are in some form or another playing head of household, in some form or another, they need to know how the money's made. They need to know how the investments are made. They need to know how, like, Joe can right now take over and run this house within a month and a half.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
As in, I at least know where our expenses are, what our expenses are, you know, general things that every, like, any member of any relationship, couple, throuple, polycule, whatever it may be, needs to understand about themselves in relation to their partner's finances.
Right.
So that, in the event of some catastrophic situation or death,
right,
there are no surprises. And I would say that's probably the father's biggest mistake.
Right. Was he entrusted he had the conversations with the lawyer and not the wife.
And the wife, well, more importantly, the wife was left clueless.
Exactly.
Like, she doesn't know what the expenses are. She didn't understand why you don't want to buy a house at the beach.
Right.
Like, in the sense of, he just kind of said no and said they're money pits, and then didn't really say anything else.
Right.
Not, okay, well, we can get that house at the beach, but it's going to cost us this much. These are the things you have to be concerned with. This is how much insurance is going to cost you, because they pretty much plan for your house to blow up every, 7 years.
Right.
On down the line, that it's not like owning a nice little house in the suburbs in the middle of, Iowa.
Right. But at the same time, the cabin plan, you know what that's about. You know why we're doing it. You know what I want there. You know what it's going to cost. You know what it takes to maintain this house versus moving somewhere else. The investments, and the reason I prefer dividend stocks in casual products.
Right. Like things you buy every day, your Targets, your Walmarts, your gas, your oil, your like general things you're gonna use forever.
Right. So if you had to start managing the portfolio, you would know what the portfolio is. You would understand the theme of the portfolio, and you wouldn't be listening to a stupid money man who goes, "Oh, you'll have as much as a surgeon makes you." That was bullshit advice.
Well, and I think that's a really odd way of describing her finances to her.
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, tell me what that means. Like, you're basically what he claimed was his investment strategy was going to make her 90% per year of what her husband would have continued contributing to the household as a sole provider.
Right. And that's bullshit.
Yeah, I think that should frighten anyone.
Right.
Like 7 figures is a lot to invest.
Right.
Potentially you could make some nice returns on that.
Right. But again,
I would be really
you should
leery.
not invest in things you do not understand. I do not understand quantum computing. I am not going to invest into, I believe it's called ComC stock, because I don't understand it. It's too damn risky, and it's up and down like a damn volcano, and it has no dividend. You're looking for, and this is not financial advice. This is, Warren Buffett quotes, basically. Don't invest in things that you don't use.
Don't invest in things you don't use. I think every once in a while, if you have play money, in terms of, it's not going to make or break you if you invest a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
Like your total portfolio is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Taking a couple of $1,000 and going, sure, I'll buy some of that stock.
Right.
I don't know anything about the damn company. I don't know what the hell they do. You want to go take some money that's not really going to hurt you. Couple thousand, put it in there, see what it does.
Right.
You might make a good chunk of change or you might lose it.
Right.
That's fine. Taking your entire hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in her case, 7 figures, so millions of dollars, and dumping it into things you don't understand, you're treating all of your money as play money.
Right.
That's bad. You might as well go to Vegas and bet on red. The odds are better in your favor.
Right. The other part of that is, and the important part is not understanding what she's investing in. And this is why I do not like money managers, is they will put you in investments that are too risky. They will put you in investments that you do not understand. So you're an asshole for that. You made uneducated decisions. The other part is, if a stock goes down, you ride it till the company goes bankrupt and get bought by another company.
Yeah, I think that's getting very specific, and I don't even think she's an asshole for trying to invest it herself.
Well, I don't think she's an asshole for that, but I think she's an asshole for not reading what you're not knowing what you're investing in, not knowing that you've got to hold through the bad days. Like right now, let's see what the market was doing today.
Well, but I think the bigger point sometimes is just you like, she didn't take the time to make a next step plan.
Right.
Like, it seems like everything's been a knee jerk. She got told no on the house, she did it anyway.
Right.
She, didn't like the way the lawyer reacted, so she knee jerked over to a money manager. She didn't like what the money manager did, so she knee jerked and tried to do it herself.
Right.
Now she's knee jerked and pulled the kid's college fund.
Right. So the S&P was down 17%, 7.17 today. Okay. So with it, so Dow was up by 57%. Let's see what economical data from Merrill Edge is. All right. So if you own stock TQQQ, which is down 1.4%, you have to ride that stock out. Because if you look at the profile of it, it does this. It does this about every 2.5 months. It'll drop.
Mhm. Like, you can't panic
Right. And that's
every
what
time you
doing,
lose money.
panicking.
Like, that's the general theory. And again, not investing advice
Right.
exactly, as much as it's just the law of probability statistics.
Right.
Is that you can't panic every time you dip a little.
Right.
Like, you can't have growth without having some expenditure and some loss. And like, you can't build a house with a perfect amount of lumber. You have
Right.
waste.
Right.
Like, the eye is on the house being completed and its value,
Right.
not on the pile of lumber that you couldn't use because it's too short, you cut it wrong, you did this, you did that. You take acceptable loss and go, that's fine, we built a house.
Right.
And not just look at that pile of lumber and go, you're the worst home builder ever.
Right.
Like, nope, there's going to be some scrap lumber.
Exactly. All right.
So Shannon had a lot to say.
Yes, she did. So go ahead and read comments while I pull up the stock I'm looking for.
Okay, so Shannon points out that there was no reason to go buy a place in such an expensive area because she's always wanted to live there. She said it herself. Her husband said those places were money pits. She wanted something. She put all of her stuff into it. She couldn't keep it with what she had set up already, and then went after her daughter's education fund. It's not like her husband left her in tons of debt, and the only way to keep a roof over their heads 4 years ago was to liquidate the fund.
Right.
Mom's an asshole because she made a lot of bad decisions, and what she thinks is a sound business plan may not be the case. So no guarantees there.
Right.
She's like how my grandma was, from the sound of her, used to having her husband make all the money and controlling the major money. And when she got her hands on something, she went ham-fisted. I'm assuming is what you meant by she went ham. Is she ham-fistedly just did whatever she wanted to, and all of a sudden it's gone, and like try to unravel the trail, because it's just bonkers. And I can understand that. And this is an unfortunate reality for a lot of spouses. Regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless, like, it does not matter. Sometimes you do see it with higher frequency in older generations, where there was more of a one person manages the finances, one person is clueless about the finances. Because that was considered their role as a provider, was to manage all the finances. It doesn't inherently mean the spouse that didn't manage the finances is bad with finances. It just means there's a risk there that there's going to be lots of things that they're not aware of. And one of them may be fiscal responsibility, because they've never actually had to exercise that. And they may be more susceptible, like this mom was, in believing unrealistic expectations for financial performance of stocks. That said, it could give you some really wrong impressions, and you could end up making some bad choices based on that information alone. Especially when the performance isn't there to back it up.
All right, so let me see if I can get this shared. There we go. Thank you, Yahoo Finance, for making this easy.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So what the mom has been doing is she's been buying up here, and she does that knee jerk reaction and sells it here.
Pretty much is what it sounds like.
Right.
Like she panicked every time a stock she bought tanked.
Right. So what she needed to do, and what she should have done, is look for stocks that are here and have a proven stock building record, bought here and reinvested here, and is riding it here, and she's getting 6.86% dividends quarterly. Is what she should have done. That's what she should do.
And it may even have been, because I don't want to necessarily call someone, out for being a bad financial manager, a bad money manager.
Well, I don't think she's bad. I just don't think she's educated.
And that's kind of was going to be my whole point, was that, he could have, this could have been a wonderful money manager.
Right.
Who was dead on the money,
right.
using a pun, as to what it would be. But if you don't give it time, like sometimes it doesn't start great, but then it gets good.
Right.
So you got to ride the wave a little bit. But if she, again, knee jerked out and went, well, what you said isn't what's happening right now.
Right.
Sold it all the wrong moments, took it over herself, repeated the same process.
Right.
It would look exactly like what she said, but not actually be what she said.
Right.
So there is that to consider, but I don't know. I kind of think mom's the asshole for like the most obvious reasons. I think bad situations happen. I think inability, lack of financial literacy is a problem.
Right.
For many spouses after after they become widowed. Or whatever situation, like divorce or whatever, leaves them in charge of their own money, so to speak. I think all of that is unfortunate but forgivable to an extent. The extent being you're not making the effort to get the literacy, to figure out what you're doing, to make a next step plan, to have a reasonable expectation of where you're going.
Right. And the other part of that is, come on, there's Mommy Trader out there on YouTube. If you guys want to see the link, type in Mommy Trader. She teaches you how to trade. You do not know how to trade. She teaches you how to trade for $1 a day, meaning you take $1, you trade. And we'll probably do her program later in the year.
There we go.
All right, so the voting poll is up on Aeson Knight's YouTube. You can go over there and vote whether the mom's the asshole or not.
So continuing our financial...
It's a theme.
Yeah, continuing the theme. So this is our relationship one, and it is relationship issues with finances, trust, and a pan partner. Male 36, female 29. Relationship issues with finances, trust.
And he freezes. Yep, you're frozen. Catch up.
Hello, and a pan partner. Backstory.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. All right. So let's just pretend you heard none of that. So relationship issues with finances, trust, and a pan partner, male 36, female 29. Relationship issues with finances, trust, and a pan partner. Backstory. I am male 36 that has been dealing with a lot of issues trusting my partner currently. I will provide specifics later in this post and the whirlwind of emotions I am experiencing currently. Recently, I found out my partner and baby mama, female 29, lied about her finances and spending. I am the individual in our relationship that pays the rent, utilities, entertainment costs, cell phone plan, etc. Her responsibilities are groceries, childcare, and pet food. Issues: the first financial hiccup. These recent problems are that my partner claimed our child on our taxes, and from a tax advisor's advice to us was that I should file as I am the head of household and claim our child as I earn 20% more. However, I allow my partner to claim our child, and she got a very nice refund. Since she got a refund, there is primarily where the problems have been arising. My mother and her will go shopping or on a semi-monthly basis, and my mother will typically cover the cost of whatever. My partner and I had received our tax refunds, and I informed my mother and partner to allow my partner to pay for whatever it is we need. However, my mother still paid for it. I asked my partner if she bought the items on their excursion, in which she advised they went to 2 stores and my mother paid at one and my partner at the other. I talked to my mother a few days later and told her what my partner informed me. She started laughing, saying she paid for everything, but my partner is to give her $40. Later that evening, I asked my partner to show me the receipt from the store she purchased the items from during their outing, and she told me she doesn't have to prove anything to me. I informed her, in which I already know she didn't pay for anything. Her response was that my mom told her to lie. Now I know my mother better than she does, and I will believe my mother over her. Issues, the second financial hiccup. My partner and I have been attempting to get pre-approved for a mortgage on our first home. I was approved for $115,000, whereas her FICO score was too low to qualify. Our agent gave us some advice on how to help us get approved with more money and how for my partner to get approved. I have a ton of debts I need to cut down. I have a lot of debt from my 20s from just keeping up with tech trends and being dumb. Per the advice of our home buying agent, my partner told me she paid off her credit cards. A week later, she tells me she lied and actually helped out her mother due to her stepfather being fired from his employer, and my partner gave them 1.5 times the amount it would have cost to pay off her credit card. The fact she lied about paying off her credit card in the recent shopping trip with my mother, I questioned whether it was true or not, so I messaged her mother. I explained that my partner advised that she gave her that money within the last 2 months, or as my partner originally told me, she paid off her credit card debt, and I don't care either way. It's just that my partner has been lying to me about the dumbest items lately, and I would just like to get to the bottom of this. She replied that her daughter did not give any money, but quite the opposite. I tell my partner I spoke to her mother and she was unable to back up my partner's claim. She stated her mom is a liar. I asked my partner if she has a bank statement within the time frame or if she sent money via Zelle or any other peer-to-peer money applications. My partner responds informing me that she does not have to prove anything, nor does she have to tell me. I'm frustrated because if my partner has the facts, evidence, or receipts that support her claim to show them to me, but once again, I'm told she does not have to validate or prove anything to me. Still unknown what happened to the funds, but I have a feeling she spent it one of those nights she was out making friends and buying drinks, etc. Issues, pan, partner, and partying. My partner is pan and goes to visit various friends monthly. In March, she decided to go to a rave and do some Molly and is now complaining that she has a heart murmur after visiting urgent care. I told her that urgent care does not have the tools to inform her that she has a heart murmur, whereas she should have gone to the emergency room if she is in fact having heart issues and she was concerned about her health. Additional information. She used to be a chain smoker and now vapes, which I encouraged her to quit, especially if she is having heart issues now. She seldomly drinks, but when she does, she goes out to her local gay bar for the drag nights and is typically out from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. on the nights she is out. Fast forward to this past Easter weekend, and one of her friends is getting divorced, and she wanted to be there for her friend whose husband just left her unexpectedly. They made plans to hang out Easter weekend and go out and have some drinks. Her friend that she went to go visit ended up leaving with a male, and my partner ended up staying over at one of her friends' houses, whereas they slept in the same bed. Her and this individual are friends on social media and met through this mutual friend of theirs about this time last year, and only encountered each other that last time. My partner explained that girls sleep in the same bed all the time as friends, and that's just what girls do normally. My rebuttal to that was, yeah, I used to do that with my friends till up until I was out of middle school. Needless to say, I'm frustrated, depressed, and just do not know how to move forward in this relationship currently. It seems like I am on the quest for the truth, but it will not show its face. Additionally, I do not go through her phone or anything like that. I'm just stuck currently. On another note, we're not religious, but I still feel like my partner should have been there for my son and I's Easter activities that she missed out on, as he will be 3 soon and is finally able to enjoy those activities. Anyways, thanks for reading, and any advice would be greatly appreciated.
All right. So here is Aeson's hot take. Run, bitch, run. One, you don't want a house with this person. You do not want a house with someone you cannot trust their spending. You also do not want a house with someone that lies to you about money. An omission is lying. She's now lied twice about where she's spending her money. We hope it doesn't sound like she's keeping the agreement to take care of the food, the dog care, and whatever else.
It was groceries, childcare, and pet food.
Right. So, if mom's buying the groceries, that's what it sounds like. What's she doing?
Awesome.
What's she doing? Where's your control there? Furthermore, she's done lie to you on major things. Like, oh, I didn't pay my credit card off and gave the money to my mother. Really? Didn't pay your credit card off and apparently didn't give money to your mother. Where's money? Run, girl, run. Run, boy, run. The sleeping and I don't give a damn. Doesn't sound like you give a damn either, although you're trying to throw a bomb here to say there's something going on. The lying is the problem. Lying will kill a relationship. If you do not have trust in a relationship, then you do not have a relationship. You don't.
Pretty much. I'm just sitting here with it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I think it's beyond the point where it matters whether or not she's
Right.
telling the truth. You don't believe her.
Right.
Now, whether or not she's actually lying, whether or not she can prove it, whether or not, it's all become a moot point. You've hit a point in your relationship where you no longer trust your partner.
Right.
I think there's another side to this.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of, I don't think I literally think your relationship is already doomed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're both now just fault finding to make it not each other's fault.
Right.
Like, you don't want it to be your fault. You want it to all be her fault. She doesn't want it to be her fault. She wants it to be your fault. Right. So she's, a lying bitch who lies about money. You're the fucking bastard who makes her prove everything to you.
Right.
Doesn't matter at this point. The relationship's toast.
Right.
You've moved beyond being able to go backwards. You really need to start working on a custody plan.
Mm-hmm.
And finding, other living arrangements that accommodate you separately.
Exactly. Like you buying the house for $115,000 that you've been approved for, that you've worked for, and leaving her in the rental that she's in to figure out how to deal with.
Or renting somewhere else, or any number of things. You have options. You just don't need to be trying to build a future with your current partner.
Yeah, because her goals apparently are not your goals.
Well, even if they're the same goals, she's fundamentally, it sounds like she's self-sabotaging and trying to get caught because, quite frankly, she wants the relationship to blow up, but wants to blame him.
Right. But here's the thing, and this hasn't. If I gave you money to pay your credit card, and you turn around and you use that money to buy a rig, or
what?
A computer, a rig.
Oh, okay.
Or you turn around and you use that money for, I don't know, this, that, and another.
I went out and partied and drank and did all kinds of stupid shit and did some lines off a hooker's ass and blah, 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 blah.
Whatever.
Whatever I did with the money, it wasn't paying the credit cards.
Right. That you now know in this situation means that we're not getting approved for the home loan.
Right. And I think that's versus, like, if the credit cards were about $15,000, let's say, just throw a big rounding number out there that's reasonable for someone to have in credit card debt. I have $15,000 in credit card debt. You hand me, roughly, $15,000 to go pay the credit card debt. Turns out I was able to settle one, and I was able to do this, and so it was really more like $12,500.
Mm-hmm.
So then I took $2,500 and I did a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's forgivable because technically I did what I said I was going to do with the money. I paid off the credit card debt.
Right.
I zeroed out all the credit cards. Maybe the settlements were a bad idea, but maybe I'm stupid and I don't know better. Regardless.
Right.
There's $2,500 left over.
Right.
And I spent it to do something else that maybe financially helped me. Like I did a prepaid card with a $2,500 limit.
Right.
For instance. That's forgivable. That's a little bit of a miscommunication and maybe not what you meant to do with the money.
Right.
You can work through that.
Right.
Handing me $15,000 and I go clubbing and all these other things that are not paying the credit cards. You lied to me about why I should give you money. You didn't use it for any of the things that it was supposed to go towards. You did all these other things. You used a situation to extort money from me and then went and had fun.
Right. And then the other one that got me was missing Easter.
I think that was a really bad with a child. That's probably the key point.
Right. With the child. That's a big problem for me.
And again, I still sit here and I read this as she's done with this relationship. She does not see y'all as a family, the three of you as a family. She's checking out at every available opportunity.
Right.
And trying to make you angry to the point that you say mean, cruel, hurtful things and you're the bastard.
Right.
It's done. Like you're now adversaries.
Right.
You're not working together. You haven't been working together for a while. And basically your mom's paying for a lot of y'all's stuff. And sounds like her mom's dropping her some money too.
Right.
So it sounds like she's been done with this relationship for a while.
Exactly.
And while you may not like it, it sounds like she's, so to speak, self-medicating financially.
Right.
And she's trying to find her joy in a lot of places that she's never going to find it at.
Right.
And most of them are expensive.
Yep.
So the best thing you really can do for each other is separate and go find your joy because it's obviously not with each other.
Exactly. I agree. It's time to leave this relationship. The financial hiccup number one was an issue. It could have been a major issue if you two had not talked about it. Like he could have been screwed on his taxes.
If you both claim the child.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know. I have some issues with that one.
Okay.
Like, I think that's something that even if you're, because you're filing head of, see, that's what I still don't understand.
He makes more. He would have gotten more back.
Right. And no. All of that I get.
Right.
What I don't get is you're talking about her filing her taxes, but he's filing head of household.
Right.
I didn't. So is he just saying that he could have,
right,
or should have filed as head of household for the three of them?
He should have filed
instead. His partner filed
and claimed the child.
Which
would have given him a bigger refund than her filing and claiming the child.
Yeah, and just getting the refund.
And just getting the refund. He gets
Well, yeah.
He gets zero. He gets single, one exemption instead of 2.5 exemptions.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is literally everything she's doing financially is to pull them apart.
And to pull
She's
him
filing
down.
taxes separately.
Right. Well, they're filing taxes separately because they're not married. It's the same reason we file separately.
Well, but still, that's back to but how is it? I mean, fundamentally, yes, but if so, again, yeah, it would kind of, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, it's
but
like,
she's
right. But it's like this. This is what they've done, and this has happened. This was a debate in our household for a little bit because you can file, you do get credit for a adult non-dependent, meaning you pay more than your living income.
Right.
Not last year, year before last, when the invisible wasn't working, it was a debate with me and you. Well, if you got to claim him on the
well, it wasn't really a debate. It
Well-
was a momentary discussion point of like, like, do you want to lob the football?
Yeah.
As in, which makes more sense.
Right.
To offset, some of my income for a very little net effect.
Right.
Or majorly offset your income because there's more income.
Right.
In totality, and just we take that and fix this.
Right. And that's what occurred here.
Yeah.
So again, she is literally trying to tear him down financially. She is tearing down the relationship goals. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
I do want to point out here, I think that he is still at a good, respectable point. He doesn't go through her phone. He doesn't go through her email.
Do what now?
He doesn't go through her phone. He doesn't go through her email.
Yeah, and those are solids. I'll give you that. But I think at the point in which you started demanding receipts, that should have been your red flag.
Right.
Like not the fact that you asked for them, but you really got to the point of demanding.
Right.
Maybe not directly to her, but in your mind, it's like, you need to prove to me. And that's a demand.
All right, guys, let's check out the poll and see if Joe wins the asshole award this week.
Am I the asshole, guys?
Ending the poll. Yes, you are the asshole by 66%.
Woohoo! All right, well, 2/3 of you are with me.
Yep.
Oh, good deal, good deal. All right, so you posed a question for the end. You ready for that one now?
Yes.
So it was, which one do I think will impact me, change me,
Is any of this information going to be usable to you?
Well, I think it's all usable. I don't think any of it's unusable. I think it's definitely that. I think to what extent one wants to use it or not is their choice. I think, though, the one that is probably the most impactful may oddly be let me double check. Did you say relationship advice or all of the advice?
All of the advices.
Okay. If I had to go A1, and it doesn't mean that all of these are like last on the list, but if I have to go A1, I really think the one about like the minor exercise, like the slow setting, the like little things you can tweak. I like that one the most. I find that that one more impactful.
Okay.
That you can just kind of do.
Now, what was you going to say?
I was just saying that one is probably the most impactful because it's little tweaks you can do that have major impact.
Okay. Right.
So I kind of, that's the one I'm like, that's pretty fucking useful.
Right.
That like take a few minutes and sit slowly into a chair
Mm-hmm.
can have the same effect as going to the gym and doing squats.
Right.
Like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, that one's kind of mind-blowing. That one has the most impact. That's a little change you can make.
Right.
Just go to sit down with your coffee in the morning and take a few minutes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can drink your coffee while you do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Okay. Very cool. Now,
So what's yours?
well, I talked about
Are you
it.
going to lie to me more? Is that it? Like,
No,
you're going to sit
I don't
here
lie to you. I don't have time to lie to you. It takes too much energy for me to lie to you.
No, it doesn't. I'm the easiest person in the world to lie to. I am oblivious most of the time. I'm just like, okay.
Bullshit. But anyhow, the 80-20, I think we are going to put into effect. Like we used to do it. We're going back to doing it. And the batching I like. And the thing that I'm already doing is the gratitude journaling. And it's just proof science.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, those were the three that hit me the biggest. Those were my ahas. And I
What's
think
the one you're just like, that's stupid?
I don't think it's stupid. I just find it interesting that they studied it.
Okay.
And that's the bird sounds.
I think that one, I think we can reasonably call that one kind of dumb.
Right.
Not because it doesn't work.
Right.
Not because it doesn't work, but just the why?
Well, and here's why. My Aunt Mary used to have one of those damn clocks in the kitchen, which I'm sorry, every house needs a kitchen clock.
Mm-hmm.
Had that stupid bird sound that would make different bird noises. And I always wanted to blow the fucker up.
Okay.
Like, I'd take the battery out of the damn thing because I hate a ticking clock also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, I like the quiet clocks that just run. I do not like hearing the tick, 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 tick. Yeah.
Oh, I grew up with a clock you would infinitely hate. You hate ticking, like steady ticking clocks.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother had one that the way that it operated,
Mm-hmm.
and its age, really.
Right.
But it did this gear rotation,
Mm-hmm.
and it would grind towards the end. It would just like really struggle to flip that hour.
Uh-huh.
And then speed up after it flipped the hour. Like, it would catch up to itself and self-correct.
Right.
But it would get really slow at the end of the hour and then speed up really fast at the beginning of the hour.
Right.
And so it, like, constantly you would hear it.
Yeah.
Just speed up and slow down. Speed up and slow down. And just...
Yeah.
That one was the one that drove me crazy.
Right. Like, no, I do not like... I love grandfather clocks. I love the chiming on the quarters. I do not want to hear it tick through the middle.
I'm okay with the ticking clock. I generally ignore it up until the point that something changes about it.
Uh-huh.
But I also have problems with multiple ticking clocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have your ticky clock over here and you have your other ticky clock over there, and they are not in sync and they're loud.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like tick 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 tick. It gives me anxiety. Like it speeds my pulse rate up. It makes me anxious.
Yes.
And it's like,
a gratitude journal to calm down.
Yeah, basically, at that point, I need a gratitude journal, and it is not going to involve the two ticking clocks in this room.
Right.
Unless they fall off and at least one of them broke.
Right. But you have that built into your plan.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I do, and it's been the one section I really haven't used. Like, I've tried to a couple of times, but I don't know. Is it possible to be too much of a smartass for a gratitude journal?
No, I think that, however, that's called honest gratitude. And well, that's a subject we'll cover at Psychic Coffee Shop, is what is real gratitude. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm adding that to my topics list. I think we're going to start doing topics, guys. I hope you guys like it. Oh, here we go.
So Brenda said, Dad collected clocks, all ran, ticked, and chimed 1.5 hours, complete with 15 cuckoo clocks. None of mine make noise. I'm sure they don't.
Yep.
I'm sure of that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, I have the same issue. All right, guys, we would like to take a moment to thank our patrons. We hope you enjoy us returning to the topical discussions because right now none of the news interests me.
well, there you go. So, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
And we will see you on Thursday night with Sandy returning for coffee and tea. Good night.
What?
Yep. Good night, y'all.
Good night. Smack it. Smack the video button. Smack it. Play it. Play it.